Cooper, Dababde, Daly, Daly, Dodd, Eggman, Frazier, Gaines, Gallagher, Cristina Garcia, Eduardo Garcia, Gatto, Gibson, Gomez, Gonzalez, Gordon, Gray, Grove, Hadley, Harper, Hernandez, Holden, Irwin, Jones, Jones Sawyer, Kim, Lackey, Levine, Linder, Lopez, Lowe, Mainshine, Mathis, Mays, McCarty, Medina, Melendez, Mullen, Nazarian, Obernolte, O'Donnell, Olson, Patterson, Perea, Quirk, Rendon, Ridley Thomas, Rodriguez, Salas, Santiago, Steinorth, Stone, Thurmond, Ting, Wagner, Waldron, Weber, Wilk, Williams, Wood. Madam Speaker.
Members, a quorum is present. Members, a quorum is present. We ask our guests and visitors in the rear of the chamber and in the gallery to please stand for the prayer. The day's prayer will be offered by our Assembly Chaplain, Father Constantine Papadimos. Father Papadimos.
Good morning. Let us pray. Lord, when our goals and dreams start to frustrate us and we lose any sense of peace or joy in life, that's a clear sign that we're holding on too tightly. But when we learn to be content with what we have and the circumstances that face us, we gain in power and our perspective becomes more balanced. Keep us, Lord, from getting so focused on our dreams and goals that we tune out everything else. Help us to see that you know what is best for us and that with faith in you we find contentment. Amen.
Thank you, Father. We ask our guests and visitors to remain standing and join us for the flag salute. Please join Assemblymember Weber as she leads us in the pledge. Dr. Weber.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
You may be seated. Reading of the previous day's journal.
Assembly Chamber, Sacramento, Wednesday, May 27, 2015. The Assembly met at 7 a.m. Honorable Richard S. Gordon, Assembly Member, 24th District, presiding. Chief Clerk E. Dotson Wilson at the desk. Reading Clerk Kathleen M. Lewis reading.
Mr. Holden moves and Ms. Olson seconds that the reading of the previous day's journal be dispensed with. Presentations of petitions, there are none. Introduction and reference of bills will be deferred. Reports of committees will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Messages from the governor, there are none. Messages from the Senate, there are none. Members, if I could have your attention, I have one quick announcement. Today is the last day to submit amendments to the desk. If an author wishes to amend by Wednesday, June 3rd, that's tomorrow, today is the last day to submit amendments to the desk. If you wish to amend your bill by Wednesday, June 3rd, that is tomorrow, amendments are due at the desk by 5 p.m. or before the adjournment of session. Members, moving to business on the daily file. Second reading. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 33, 43, 47, 101, 141, 174, 194, 219, 221, 243, 254, 278, 282, 302, 339, 340, 356, 357, 470, 516, 621, 626, 662, 672, 713, 743, 762, 779, 787, 801, 848, 876, 883, 937, 953, 967, 988, 1014, 1091, 1095, 1117, 1124, 1162, 1176, 1307, 1317, 1321, 1326, 1347, 1351, 1354, 1366, 1370, 1396, 1411, 825, 1342, 1061, 68, 156, 403, 530, 1012, 304, 615, 575, 692, 870, 20, 67, 292, 761, 827, 1025, 1201, 1330, 710, 252, 34, 521, and 266.
All bills will be deemed read and amendments deemed adopted. Members, we are moving to Assembly concurrence. Members, we are going to take up bills authored by the budget conferees at the top of the file. These are items eligible to take up. We're going to dispense with those items first, beginning with a set of bills authored by Dr. Weber. Members, I ask that you move to file item 131. This is on third reading. File item 131, that's AB 1218. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1218 by Assemblymember Weber and others, enacting into public contracts.
Dr. Weber, you may open.
Yes, Mr. Speaker and members, today I'm here to present AB 1218. This bill is designed to reform the state's Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise, the DVBE, incentive program to provide more access, transparency, and accountability. These updates include taking into account both the amount awarded and the amount paid when measuring an agency's progress toward the DVBE's participation goals. Participation incentives for DVBE with veterans making up more than 50% of their workforce, and incentive preference for DVBE seeking to act as a prime contractor, as well as participation incentives for new DVBEs. AB 1218 is supported by a number of veteran service organizations, including AMVET and the American Legion of California. This bill has been passed with unanimous bipartisan support by the Committee on Jobs, Economic Development, the Committee on Accountability and Administrative Review, and the Appropriations Committee. I respectfully ask for your aye vote for AB 1218.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 66, no 0. Measure passes. Members, we're going to move to file item 143. Item 143, that's AB 329. The clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 329 by Assemblymember Weber, an act relating to pupil instruction.
Dr. Weber.
Yes, Mr. Speaker and members. Today I present to you AB 329, the California Healthy Youth Act. This is the comprehensive sexual health and HIV prevention education has been shown to be an effective way in delaying sexual activity and increasing contraceptive use among youth who are already sexually active. This purpose of this bill, AB 329, is to update, strengthen, and integrate the existing statutes. And I want to emphasize the fact that we've passed a number of statutes here in this House relating to HIV prevention and comprehensive sex health education. They're providing clear guidance to schools, districts, and better support for those teachers and students. Specifically, it would modernize and broaden the concept of HIV mandate to reflect today's understanding of HIV and increase instruction's impact on reducing HIV as well as other sexually transmitted diseases and unintended pregnancies. It requires instruction and materials that are inclusive of students of all sexual orientation and gender, and includes new sex education content that relates to adolescent relationships, abuse, sexual harassment, sexual trafficking, and reinforces the concept of healthy attitudes, healthy behavior, and healthy relationships. AB 329 is co-sponsored by a number of groups, including the California Latinos for Reproductive Justice, Equal California, Forward Together, and Planned Parenthood, and a number of other health organizations. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Ms. Baker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I regretfully rise to oppose our colleague's bill. This is not because the subject matter should not be covered. It's because this bill specifically prohibits our local school districts from choosing to have an opt-in policy for certain sex education. Local school districts is exactly where parents are most empowered to direct the curriculum for their children on this topic. And for that reason, I urge a no vote.
Mr. Gallagher.
Members, I also rise in opposition to this bill. I'm sure all of us in this room care about students, and we want to see and make sure that they succeed and that they have all the information available to them. But I'm sure that we don't care and aren't as close to those students as their local administrators, their boards of trustees, their teachers, and most especially their parents. We're not as close to those districts as those people are. So why are we trying to establish a statewide policy and forcing districts to adopt a specific sexual education program, forcing them to have an opt-out system instead of an opt-in if their district decides to do so? Why are we forcing that from the top? We should allow local school districts to have that flexibility and to make decisions on their sexual education programs based on their specific cultures and their value systems, not to impose our value system on the rest of the state and on the rest of the school district. So I urge you to vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Ting, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to rise in support of AB 329. And education is first and foremost all about inclusion. It's really about making sure that every single student, every single Californian has a place at the table. And when we exclude people, as we've seen, we've done that throughout our history, whether it was not talking about the Japanese-American internment, whether it's not talking about slavery and how that has an impact on our history, we've seen it has detrimental effects. And so that this bill is very important because it is really to make sure that as we're teaching a certain subject matter, that we are including everybody. And we mean everybody, and we mean all communities, and that's something that really communities shouldn't be able to ignore other Californians or decide when to opt out or when to opt in or which communities should be at the table in our schools. That's really a statewide decision, and it's a statewide decision saying that all Californians have a place to be part of our curriculum, need to be included in our curriculum, and need to be at the table. I ask you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Ting. Mr. Wagner, you are recognized.
I wasn't going to speak, but I've just got to push back on what I just heard. This is not a bill about exclusion. This is not a bill about putting certain groups in their place. This is not the equivalent of what we did with the federal government did with the Japanese internment camps. We are not excluding anyone from this education. We are allowing parents. We are allowing parents to direct their education. And I'm sorry, I can't let it go unchallenged to say that it's the equivalent of me directing my child's education is the same thing as the federal government throwing our good friend from the last session, Ms. Yamada's parents, in an internment camp. The rhetoric is over the top. This is a bill that takes away parents' rights, but that takes away parents' rights. It is not the equivalent to some of the horrors and wholesale civil rights violations we've seen before. In fact, it is itself a violation of the civil rights of the parents, and for that reason deserves a no vote.
Mr. Lowe, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise in support of this bill, and I've heard some debate about this particular piece of legislation, but let me just mention, and particularly for the millennial generation, that education is critical, and particularly in a time in which this crisis was very pervasive in communities, the institutional knowledge is lost. And so I hope, particularly for the younger generations, to have an understanding of this in the classroom is critical so that we don't forget history, and I urge your support for this bill.
Ms. Olson, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I rise in opposition to AB 329 for a different reason, having nothing to do with opt-in, opt-out, having nothing to do with whether sex education is appropriate in our schools. I would remind this body that it was just a couple years ago that we jointly, on I believe a unanimous bipartisan support, passed the local control funding formula. Since that time, we have different jurisdictions when it comes to dictating curriculum in our schools. It is no longer the state's jurisdiction to dictate what should or should not be taught in our education system. That is up to local school districts and local school boards, and all of us as returning members voted in favor of that legislation. So we should respect the principle of subsidiarity, as Governor Brown would refer to it. We should respect local control. We should stay true to the local control funding formula that we all acknowledged would be a positive step in the right direction for our kids, for our teachers, for our districts across the state. For that reason, I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Ms. Olson. Mr. Mathis, you are recognized.
I stand after hearing the millennial comment. I, too, am a millennial, and my colleagues are exactly right. This bill, it's not a millennial bill. It's not a bill about education. This is a bill about rights and about parents working with their local communities, with their school administrators, with the teachers, sitting down, having a conversation, as we've done for years, and say, this is what's right for our children. Not a body of 80 sitting in this room to go, this is what you need to do back home. Who are we to tell these parents how to raise their children and what they need to know about sex ed?
Ms. Grove, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, too, rise in opposition to this bill, and for a different reason. This bill specifically excludes the language that says it declares a requirement of the instruction on how you must emphasize sexual abstinence, monogamy, the avoidance of multiple sexual partners, and the absentee of intravenous drug use. I mean, if we're not going to fully inform students that these are some of the things that cause HIV and AIDS, then that's like the bill that was passed off this floor a couple of days ago or last week, maybe even yesterday. I lose track of time. I apologize. But about not having a fully informed audience. So if we're not going to fully inform our students, then this bill should be voted on no just because of that particular reason, because we're not going to tell our students about the reasons and some of the reasons that you get HIV AIDS, some of the reasons that, like it says in there, to eliminate the multiple sex partners. There's reasons you can attract HIV AIDS, and if you're not going to fully inform the students, then you shouldn't have the education class in the first place. But on the other side of it, I don't support the education curriculum that's in here because I don't think that it allows our students, our administrators, and our teachers in our local school districts to opt out. They have to have they don't have an opt-in option, and I think that violates our local control issues within our county school boards. So I just ask for a no vote.
Ms. Bonilla, you are recognized.
Hi, I just this morning want to give some clarification, Mr. Speaker, to some of the comments made. And I think it's very important to understand that when we did the local control funding formula, we were not abdicating our position and our authority here as legislators over the curriculum that is taught in the state. We are very concerned for statewide standards. It's very, very important that we maintain our role to make sure that throughout the state, all students are receiving equal exposure, equal education. The local control funding formula, key word there was funding. That was a formula that talked about the expenditures now can be decided by local school boards. But we as the state on this issue, on this bill, it's very important. We have districts that are already using an integrated curriculum. We are now saying, you know what, that's a very good idea. The other districts can also now go out and get this integrated curriculum so that every student in California gets the right health information that they really, truly need to have. That is our obligation. That is our role to make sure that every student in the state has equal and fair access to the education that they deserve. I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Bonilla. Ms. Eggman, you are recognized from your desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise in support of this bill, AB 329. People got up and spoke as millennials. Well, I'd like to get up and speak as a boomer, as somebody who lived through the HIV/AIDS crisis in all of its ugliness and knows what happens when people don't have access to education about how they keep themselves safe. I think our kids deserve to have all the information they need to be able to make decisions to keep themselves safe. And I don't know why anyone on this floor would stand up and argue against education and information to keep people safe. We have seen an uptick in the epidemic of HIV/AIDS, and it's happening in rural areas, young people of color. So we need to do our best to take precautions to provide education so that people can make decisions that keep themselves safe. I urge a strong aye vote on AB 329.
Mr. Thurman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I, too, rise in support of AB 329. Simply to say that this bill is respectful to the right of parents to really talk with their families. But in spite of that, there is just the fact that young people still are often misinformed. And as the research shows, that in spite of all the work that parents do, that schools try to do, we're seeing the highest rates of infection among young people between the ages of 18 and 24. We had a hearing this year where we heard from young people directly who said things, they had learned myths about how to protect themselves from HIV and sexually transmitted diseases, and it provided compelling evidence that cannot be refuted that we need to protect our young people by giving them good information. If nothing else, let's provide them with good information, and I urge a yes vote on AB 329.
All debate having ceased, Dr. Weber, you may close.
Yes, Mr. Speaker and members, this bill does not invalidate the various options that parents have concerning to be able to opt out of any instruction. It is not an opt-in, out bill. That's not the content of it at all. It updates the content standards of our sex education program to help keep our kids healthy and moving forward. It has resulted that I respectfully asked on behalf of the children of California that I get your aye vote for AB 329.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 47, noes 24. Measure passes. Staying with Dr. Weber, this is file item 152, AB 740. Item 152, AB 740, the clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 740 by Assemblymember Weber, an act related to academic context standards.
Dr. Weber.
Yes, Mr. Speaker and members, I rise today for 152, which is the Academic Content Standards Update. Our academic content standards are an essential part of California's achievement and accountability system. However, there's currently no process in place for this regular review and update. AB 740 requires the State Superintendent of Instruction to recommend to the State Board of Education a schedule for the regular update of academic content standards in all subject areas. Upon appropriation from the legislature, an academic content standard advisory committee will be convened to recommend updates to content standards at each subject. It is long overdue that a consistent process be put in place for statewide content standards review. This is supported by the state superintendent, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote for AB 740.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 51, noes 14. Measure passes. Members, we are going to move to file item 218. File item 218, AB 854. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 854 by Assemblymember Weber, an act relating to educational services.
Dr. Weber, you may open.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, members, AB 854 is a foster youth services bill that is related to foster youth service programs here in the state. Several reports and studies have established the fact that foster youth face unique educational challenges. A recent report looked at year one LCFF implementation of foster youth and found the differing definitions of foster youth in our foster youth services and LCFF statutes were causing confusion at the local level, such as not all students were identified for services and were falling through the cracks. AB 854 seeks to align the foster youth service program with our local control funding formula to ensure the effective implementation of foster care. This bill would expand our foster youth service eligibility criteria to all students who fall into the definition of foster youth services as defined by LCFF. Because the foster youth service programs are not authorized or funded to serve foster youth in relative foster care setting, an estimated 2/3 of California foster youth are not eligible to receive support that has been proven to increase their academic success. In essence, because our young people who are foster care live with relatives versus non-relatives, those who live with relatives are not eligible for the kind of support that we thought they were going to get through LCFF in terms of support for tutoring, psychological assistance, and other things. I respectfully ask for your aye vote for this bill, AB 857, which will basically align that and allow these students to receive the kind of academic support they need.
Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 73, no 0. Measure passes. Moving to file item 224. That's AB 1000. File item 224, AB 1000. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1000 by Assemblymember Weber and others, an act relating to the California State University.
Dr. Weber, you may open.
Yes, members, I think this is my final bill, AB 1000 for today. It's the student success fees. I'm pleased to present this bill because it talks about student success fees at the California State University. AB 1000 is largely consistent with requirements adopted at the recent CSU trustees resolution and would be the next legislative step to ensure that our students continue having input and authorization into the implementation of student success fees. Most of you know several years ago we discovered discovered that despite the fact that we'd held tuition at many of our campuses, the campuses decided on their own to increase their fees among young people. This bill would say that can continue to exist. However, it must exist once the students are notified, once they have input, and they vote on those fees. And so this bill would be consistent with what the Board of Trustees has now come to realize needs to happen in the process. This bill, AB 1000, has received no votes in any committee, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote for AB 1000.
Thank you, Dr. Weber. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 70, no 0. Measure passes. Members, we're dispensing with bills authored by budget conferees. We're going to move to Mr. Gomez's set of measures. We're going to move back in the file to file item 142. That's AB 211. File item 142, AB 211. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 211 by Assemblymember Gomez and others, an act relating to human services.
Mr. Gomez.
Mr. Chair and members, existing law states that the California In-Home Support Services statewide authority will assume the employer responsibility for collective bargaining of the IHSS program in 8 pilot counties upon implementation of the Coordinated Care Initiative. AB 211 will require that IHSS authority to assume collective bargaining responsibility in all 58 counties beginning in January 1, 2016, essentially transferring this responsibility from the counties to the state level. This bill will delink the transition to the state level collective bargaining from every other aspect of the Coordinated Care Initiative and allows the move to be done in a timely manner. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the vote. Ayes 46, noes 18. Measure passes.